My heart absolutely plummeted when I realized my best friend, my sister for over a decade, wasn't just jealous of my happiness. She was actively trying to destroy it. It was a betrayal so deep, so unthinkable. It made my entire world feel like it was collapsing. Up until about 6 months ago, I truly believed my best friend, Sarah, would never let me down. We've been inseparable for over 10 years, practically sisters. I mean, we did everything together, from those awkward middle school sleepovers where we'd giggle about boys, to high school pep rallies, to every single post-graduation night out. We were thick as thieves, no exaggeration. But then, something just shifted. It started around the time I began dating Mike. Mike, my high school sweetheart, the guy who eventually became my fiancé. We'd been together for 3 years when he proposed. It was meant to be this perfect, magical moment. I remember telling Sarah about him for the very first time. She was so excited for me, always my biggest cheerleader. At least, that's how I remembered it. Looking back now, the truth is there were little signs. Tiny, almost imperceptible things I totally dismissed back then, thinking they were nothing. Oh, how I wish I'd paid more attention. We'd always been so incredibly close, so when Mike got down on one knee in our favorite restaurant, Sarah was naturally the very first person I called. I was practically bursting. She sounded ecstatic at first, but there was this weird, off feeling in her voice. A quiet, almost hidden undercurrent of resentment. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe she was stressed with work. But the cracks in our friendship, they started showing in the weeks that followed. It wasn't obvious, not at first. Sarah congratulated me, sure. But then I noticed her pulling away. Just a little. I try not to let it bother me. Wedding planning is stressful, right? And I was so busy. But there were times I'd call her to chat, and she wouldn't pick up. When she finally did, she was distant, distracted. Sometimes I'd get these half-hearted responses like, "I'm just tired," or "I've got a lot going on." It was weird, but I just chalked it up to wedding stress. I mean, we all know what a headache that can be. Then came the night I finally realized it wasn't just about me getting married. It was about her. This was about a week before our engagement party. We were supposed to meet up for casual drinks on a Friday night, just a few friends celebrating. But when I got to the bar, Sarah was already there, sitting with a whole group of people I didn't even recognize. As I walked over, I saw her stiffen, like she wasn't exactly thrilled to see me. "Hey," I smiled, trying to shake off that weird vibe. "I didn't realize you brought so many people." Sarah's smile was forced. "Yeah, I thought it would be fun to mix things up," she said, but her shoulders were so tense, and her eyes kept darting around the room. We didn't even hug, which was totally out of character for us. We were always huggers. I tried to shake it off, but the night just kept getting worse. As we talked, Sarah became more and more distant. At one point, she completely turned her attention to some new guy at the table, who I later found out was her coworker. They were laughing about something, but when I looked closely, her eyes flicked over to me with this almost judgmental look. That kind of look you get when someone's watching you, just waiting for you to mess up. Then the conversation shifted. We were talking about wedding plans, and I mentioned I was trying to decide between a beach wedding or something more formal. Sarah, who had always been so incredibly supportive of my choices, suddenly cut me off. "Honestly," she said, her voice cold, almost condescending, "I don't get why you'd want to make such a big deal out of it. It's just a wedding. You don't need to spend all that money. People are going to forget about it anyway." I was stunned. My mouth went dry. "What do you mean?" I managed to say, "It's not just about the money. It's about celebrating with the people we love." I tried to sound lighthearted to mask the hurt that was burning inside me. She just shrugged. "Sure, but you could just elope, right? Wouldn't that be way less of a hassle?" The whole table went silent for a moment. I could practically feel the awkwardness creeping in. I tried to laugh it off, but something inside me was twisting. This wasn't my best friend anymore. This was someone else. Someone who was acting like everything I was doing was wrong. It stung, but I didn't say anything else that night. When I got home, I just cried. I thought about everything. How Sarah had been acting recently, how she used to be so supportive of my dreams, and now seemed to take joy in tearing them down. But I told myself it was probably just a phase. We all have them, right? The next few weeks went by, and Sarah's distance only grew. I started to realize that the cracks in our friendship weren't just about me getting engaged. It was something much, much deeper. It wasn't until I caught a glimpse of her Facebook status a few days before the engagement party that I truly understood how deep the jealousy ran. It was a photo of Sarah and another friend, captioned, "Some people just can't handle when things change." The subtle jab at me couldn't have been clearer. I sat there for a few minutes, staring at my screen, my heart sinking. It was like all the pieces suddenly clicked into place. Her strange behavior, the distance, all those snide comments. I was getting married, and it felt like she wasn't happy for me at all. The day of the engagement party arrived. Mike and I were so excited. We had so many friends coming, including Sarah, of course. But as the evening wore on and everyone gathered, Sarah was nowhere to be found. My phone buzzed with texts from other people asking where she was. I tried calling her, but there was no answer. My stomach twisted with a mix of frustration and utter confusion. It wasn't until about an hour into the party that I finally received a text from Sarah. It was short, brutally short. "Oh, I forgot. I was busy watching TV." It absolutely stung, but I refused to let it show. Not yet. I put my phone down and took a deep breath. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I stepped away from the joyful group, retreating to a quiet corner of the venue. My phone was still clutched in my hand, that awful text message from Sarah staring back at me. I was busy watching TV. It felt so dismissive, so incredibly careless. I hit her number and waited for the ringing. My heart hammered in my chest, but I wasn't backing down anymore. I needed answers. She picked up after a few seconds. I could hear static in the background, probably her TV, the one she'd rather be watching than celebrating my engagement. "Hey," she said, her voice casual, like nothing was wrong. "What's up?" I felt my grip tighten on the phone. I swallowed down the huge lump in my throat before speaking. "Really, Sarah? Really? I've been trying to reach you all night. You were supposed to be here, and now I find out you're sitting on your couch watching TV." My voice shook with a mixture of anger and deep hurt, but I didn't care. It absolutely needed to be said. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, just enough for that familiar, sinking feeling to start in my stomach. Then she spoke, but not in the way I expected. "You know," she started, her voice suddenly dripping with sarcasm, "you always were a little overdramatic. It's just a party. You're acting like it's the end of the world." She sounded like she was mocking me, almost like she was enjoying this. My breath caught. I blinked. Her words echoed in my head. "You're acting like it's the end of the world." Was she serious? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like she completely dismissed everything that mattered to me. I don't know what happened to you, Sarah. You've been acting like this for weeks now. I don't even recognize you anymore," I said, trying desperately to keep my voice steady, but the hurt was just bubbling over. "I thought we were supposed to be best friends. What happened to that?" She scoffed. "You really want to know? Fine. Here's the truth, Emma. You've changed. Ever since you started dating Mike. It's like you've forgotten about everyone else. And now you're getting engaged, acting all perfect and shiny. And frankly, it's annoying." Her words hit me like a physical slap across the face. Annoying? She was mad at me for being happy. I wanted to shout. I wanted to tell her how much she'd hurt me, how much she'd let me down. But I stayed silent for a moment, just trying to hold back the tears that were threatening to spill. "I'm sorry I'm so perfect and shiny," I said, the bitterness in my voice impossible to ignore. I didn't realize being happy was a crime. There was a pause, and then, like she couldn't help herself, Sarah actually laughed. It wasn't a joyful laugh. It was a cold, spiteful sound. "Oh, Emma, you just don't get it, do you?" Her tone was almost mockingly sweet now. "It's not about you being happy. It's about how you've made everything about you. You've always done that, but now you're making it unbearable. My blood boiled. Everything about me? Had she really just said that? The Sarah I used to know would have never talked to me like this. You know what, Sarah? Maybe you're right, I said, my voice laced with pure anger. Maybe I've been so wrapped up in planning my future with Mike that I forgot about you. But honestly, I've been so busy dealing with your attitude lately that I almost forgot what it feels like to have a friend who actually cares. There was a long silence, and then she snapped back with something that cut deeper than anything she'd said before. You know what, Emma? Maybe you should just stop pretending you're so innocent in all this. You're so caught up in your fairy tale that you can't even see how selfish you've become. But hey, whatever. Go ahead and keep planning your perfect wedding. I'll be over here living my life without all this drama. Before I could respond, she hung up. I stood there completely stunned. My phone buzzed again, but I didn't even bother looking. My hands were shaking, my thoughts were racing, and I was no longer sure who Sarah even was anymore. The friend I'd known for over a decade felt like a stranger now. Someone who could casually tear me down without a second thought. I thought about how I used to drop everything for Sarah, how I used to be her biggest cheerleader. And now it felt like she was doing everything she could to completely tear me down. I took a deep breath, my heart still racing after that awful conversation. I knew, right then, that I couldn't let her ruin my night. This was my engagement party, and no matter what she said or did, I wasn't going to let her take away the happiness I felt. I decided to actively enjoy the rest of the evening. The music was great, the food was amazing, and everyone who truly mattered was here, celebrating with me. Mike was right by my side, looking so handsome in his suit, grinning from ear to ear like he'd just won the lottery. And honestly, in a way, he had. We took pictures with our friends, laughed at inside jokes, and posed with family members. Every time I looked around, I saw how genuinely happy everyone was for us. It felt like the most perfect night. I simply wasn't going to let Sarah's toxicity ruin it. I couldn't resist snapping a few pictures of Mike and me together, our arms around each other, beaming. I captioned one of them, "The one who really matters." It felt like the perfect little jab after what had just happened. I didn't tag Sarah, but I knew she'd see it. She was always checking my posts. A couple of hours passed. I was dancing with my friends when I heard my phone buzz. I glanced at it and saw a notification. It was Sarah. I braced myself. She commented on the photo. "Must be nice to have such a perfect life, huh? Too bad it's all a show." I rolled my eyes. The way she always tried to spin everything I did into something negative had become so incredibly predictable. I showed the comment to Mike, and we both just laughed it off. He rubbed my shoulder affectionately, and we went right back to enjoying the night. But then, things took a turn. A few minutes later, I noticed Sarah walking through the door, looking way too casual for a party she wasn't even invited to. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie, her hair thrown up in a messy bun. Her eyes immediately scanned the room, and I could feel the tension building. She was clearly here to stir things up. I tried to ignore her, but then I noticed her heading straight for the center of the room, where a small group of friends and family were gathered. She was acting all chill, but her movements were too calculated, and I could see that subtle smirk on her face. She was trying to make a statement. Sarah tried to approach me, but I stayed close to Mike, who was holding my hand. She glanced around at the crowd, then turned her attention to me, her voice louder than necessary. Well, Emma, looks like your little fairy tale is going great." "Huh," she said, a clear hint of bitterness in her tone. She scanned the room as if she were looking for something specific to criticize. I mean, I've never been a fan of the whole look at me vibe, but hey, it's your big day, right? I felt my stomach churn. The whole vibe was just off, and I could tell she was trying to totally sabotage the party. People were starting to notice, and the whispers had already begun. "Isn't it a little awkward?" Sarah continued, not missing a beat. "That all of your friends here are just showing up for a show? Like you're all pretending to be so happy, but we all know what's really going on behind the scenes. Mike finally stepped in, his protective side absolutely roaring, as he gently but firmly placed his hand on my shoulder. "Sarah," he said, his voice quiet but firm, "I think it's time for you to leave." And that's what happened. As Sarah tried to make her dramatic exit, with this smug smile plastered on her face, she turned too quickly toward the door and tripped over the edge of a rug, sprawling forward and crashing onto the floor with a loud thud. The entire room went silent for a split second before the snickers started. Then came the laughter. People just couldn't help it. Sarah, the girl who had been trying so hard to stir the pot, was now the subject of every eye in the room. She tried to stand up, her face bright red with embarrassment, but she slipped again, stumbling to her feet. "Oh my God," she muttered under her breath, her eyes darting frantically around the room. I could feel the tension lifting from my shoulders. People were still laughing, but it wasn't the good kind of laughter. It was the kind that said, "You got what you deserved." It was a sweet, sweet moment, but I didn't let myself gloat. It felt almost too good to be true, seeing her go from the one trying to make me look bad to the one everyone was laughing at. Sarah's face turned bright crimson. She glared at me, her eyes practically burning with rage, but she said nothing. She just turned and stormed out of the room, the door slamming behind her with a sharp crack. I stood there, still in shock, trying to process what had just happened. But as I looked around at the people who had stayed, who were still smiling and laughing with me, I realized this was the moment. Sarah had finally shown her true colors. The night went on, and I made sure to enjoy every single second of it. No more drama, just me, Mike, and the people who genuinely cared about us. Later that night, I received a few angry texts from Sarah, but they didn't faze me anymore. I'd already made my decision. The morning after the party, I woke up with a heavy head, still trying to process everything that had happened. Sarah's spectacular fall was still fresh in my mind, and honestly, it felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I hadn't realized how much I'd been holding in, and her little stunt at the party had finally broken the tension. But just as I was about to relax, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. It was Sarah. I hesitated. My mind raced through the options. Should I just block her? Or maybe ignore the call and save myself the stress? I debated, but pure curiosity got the best of me. I answered the phone. "Hello." A long pause. Then Sarah's voice came through, low and tight with anger. "You think you won, don't you?" I groaned inwardly, already feeling my blood pressure start to rise. "What do you want, Sarah?" "You really think Mike's all yours now, huh?" she asked, almost coldly. "You think he's your perfect fiancé, your Prince Charming?" I wasn't sure where she was going with this, but I could feel the tension in her words. My gut was already screaming that this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. I sat up in bed, pulling the covers tighter around me. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're the one who showed up to my engagement party uninvited, causing drama for no reason. If you've got something to say, just say it." She laughed, a bitter, dry sound. "Oh, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're too blind to see it." I clenched my jaw. "See what, Sarah?" There was a long pause. So long that I almost thought she'd hung up. But then she spoke again, her voice quiet, like she was choosing her words incredibly carefully. "I've been in love with Mike for years, Emma. Years. And I let you have him. I let you think that you two were perfect, that you had this dream life. But all the while, it was me who really deserved him. I'm the one who understands him. I'm the one who knows him. I'm the one who knows what he really wants." My stomach just sank. This wasn't happening. "Are you serious right now, Sarah? You're saying that you've been in love with Mike all this time, and you're just now telling me? This whole time you've been acting like my best friend, but all you wanted was him." Sarah's voice became even more heated. "I never wanted to hurt you, Emma, but you took him from me, and now that you're getting engaged, you think you're the one he really wants? No, I'm the one who deserves him. I've always been there for him. I've always been his real friend. You don't know him like I do." I couldn't breathe. The words felt like physical punches. "You're insane," I finally managed to say. "You seriously think you deserve Mike more than me? You think he'd want someone like you after all the crap you've pulled? After you've been so jealous and manipulative? This is about you and your own insecurities, Sarah, not about Mike or me." "I'm not insecure," she snapped. "I'm just tired of watching you pretend to be the perfect couple when we both know the truth. I should be the one wearing that ring, not you." I could feel the anger bubbling inside me, rising to the surface like a volcano ready to erupt. "You need to stop right now. Mike isn't a prize for you to claim. He's not some object you can win by playing games. He chose me, Sarah. I am the one he loves, and I don't care if you think you deserve him. You don't get to act like this. You don't get to manipulate people and think you'll get away with it. You've made this all about you for so long, and I'm done. Done with you." There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment. I thought she'd hang up. I was almost relieved, but then she spoke again, her voice dangerously quiet. "You're making a huge mistake, Emma. You'll regret pushing me away. No one else is going to put up with you in your perfect little life. Mike's going to see the truth eventually. He always does. And when he does, I'll be there." My heart raced, not out of fear, but out of pure disgust. I could feel the tears of frustration welling up behind my eyes. "No, Sarah, you're the one who's going to regret this. Don't ever speak to me again. Don't call, don't text, don't even think about showing up to any more of my events. We're done. And I mean it." There was a long, drawn-out pause on the other end of the line. I could practically feel her seething with rage, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't afraid of her petty jealousy or her manipulative games. I was done. "Fine," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "But don't say I didn't warn you. You'll see. You'll all see." And with that, the line went dead. I sat there in stunned silence, the weight of the conversation pressing down on me. I had just cut ties with Sarah, the person I had once considered my closest friend, the person I had trusted with my deepest secrets. But I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't allow her to keep manipulating me or Mike. The toxic jealousy was simply too much. I stared at my phone for a moment, then locked it and tossed it onto the bed. Days had passed since I'd finally cut ties with Sarah. At first, I was consumed by anger, frustration, and sheer disbelief. But over time, the storm settled, and I found myself oddly calm. Life went on. Mike and I continued with our wedding plans, and I tried to move forward without letting Sarah's drama ruin what should be the happiest time of my life. I'd almost forgotten about the whole thing for a while. I went to work, spent time with Mike, and even hung out with some of my other friends. It was like a weight had literally been lifted, and I started feeling normal again. But every now and then, I would still think about Sarah, about how she betrayed me, and about how it had felt like she was trying to steal everything from me. Not just Mike, but my peace, my joy, and my trust. I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting a little every time. And then, just yesterday, something unexpected happened. I was scrolling through Facebook, just checking in on the usual stuff, when I saw a post from Sarah. A photo of her sitting at a bar, smiling and looking so casual. And in the caption, "Learning to let go. On to bigger and better things." I stared at the screen for a long time. It was so passive-aggressive, and yet something about it felt like closure. Like she was finally done with the drama, or at least pretending to be. I wanted to laugh, to comment something snarky, but honestly, I didn't care enough anymore. I couldn't be bothered. But then it hit me. She had moved on, and you know what? So had I. Maybe I didn't need to worry about her anymore. Maybe it was all just part of growing up and finally leaving behind the toxic people who hold you back. So here we are. The engagement party is a distant memory, and Sarah's drama is nothing but a chapter I've finally closed in my life. So, do you think I handled it the right way? Let me know what you think in the comments.